Hey, welcome back to the Ace Football Academy. This is your Friday footy talk for May 23rd, 2025. I'm Coach Dunham. This is Coach Hamilton. Coach, today we are going to go through something that I think every single coach, not just soccer, every single coach in sports deals with this situation of tactical substitutions, fair play, or going for the win. We all deal with the situation where you're in a tough match. Maybe it's going back and forth, it's a tie game or whatever it may be. And you've got two kids on your bench that have had very limited playing time in that game. Do you put them in and push them to develop? Or do you say, I'm going for the win today? Where are you at on that, Barry?
Yeah, I mean, it's the age-old question, right? And I said this to you off air as you and I started talking about this. Almost the first part of this conversation is almost going to be a playing time conversation, right?
I mean, that's exactly what this is.
I mean,
it's a playing time conversation.
What matters to you in that moment as a coach? And we're going to get into some situations later on. But I for me, playing time or go for the win, I know this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I think it always just depends on what level I'm coaching at.
I think that's the critical point.
Yeah.
In this, and like you said, we're going to get more in more detail about that. But I think that is the prime take home in this conversation: is what age level and talent level are we discussing on this topic?
So for me, I will answer your question bluntly, and I've had a new assistant coach come on recently who's really. I always knew this was the right answer, but now when you get somebody on the sideline who like backs up your thinking, who's like, "Hey, dude, you're right. Well, we gotta go," right?
Yeah.
That always helps. But when I'm talking about U14, 2011 girls, for me, I gotta go for the win. I owe it to them to go for the win. I think for you with your son's team, maybe that's a little different. But for me, I think when you cross that threshold into 11v11, it's time to start getting results.
And that's a great example there, Coach. The other side of this is you and I have coached high school. We've done club, which is your competitive leagues. We also have to apply this to the recreational situation.
Yeah.
And we both know that some leagues have rules on playing time. I know in our rec league, in our area, it is 50-50. Every player should be playing 50% of every single game of that season. And for the rec leagues, that's the way it should be.
I agree.
I agree. I understand y'all want to win games, but no one on there is going to be, well, they shouldn't be a superstar because then they should be playing select soccer.
Correct.
In the competitive league. Everyone there is there for exercise, having fun, camaraderie, and friendship, and all those things apply in the rec league. But we're talking about competitive soccer. You've gone to tryouts. You've made the A team, B team, C team, whatever talent level you've made it into. And those are going to also dictate how the coach is going to apply to this. If I'm the A team, I am trying to win every single game.
Yep.
And you're developing in your training sessions.
What a great point. Yeah.
If I'm on the C team where I need some work, that coach needs to understand, hey, I don't care what's going on. Every player plays every single game, and you're focusing on that development every single game.
No, I think that what a great point that is. Just that context of where you are on the food chain, ultimately, right? And coaches should have to realize that. But, we're going to talk a lot about coaches and coaching decision-making processes tonight. But it's also the parent expectation as well, right?
That's a big one.
And the player expectation for that. You have written down here player morale. We're going to get into this a little bit later on, so I don't want to give too much away. But I think parents also have to understand that hey, we're the fourth team in this division. We are just here to develop and get a lot of touches on the ball, and hopefully by the end of next spring, I have some kids that are moving up to the third team, or I have some kids that maybe takes a jump and goes to the second team, right? So that expectation is as important as well, and the same thing with the players. Like, the players have to understand. I mean, nobody plans to go out and lose every game you step on the field, right? I mean, no coach wants to do that, probably at any level, if they're honest with you. But you also, as a player, have to understand that I'm on the fourth team and I'm on the fourth team for a reason. And my goal this season is just to become a better player. And if I start in August and I work with this coach until May, hopefully I gained something. Hopefully I got a little better, and I gave myself a chance to play on those more competitive teams.
Yeah, and I think the player morale part of this is extremely important, especially at those younger ages. If you're coaching a U8, either rec team, even if it's a competitive league team, they're learning the game, but they're also learning to love the game. And if you've got Billy sitting on the bench every single game playing 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, the only thing that you're doing is saying, I don't want you here. And that's essentially what you're telling the kid without saying it. I don't want you here because you're not good enough to be on the field. Well, if he's 8 years old, he hasn't hit that developmental stage yet. There are so many kids, I think you and I have experienced this, where you get the tiny little boy, tiny little girl, U8, works hard every practice, attends every practice, attends every game, but just doesn't have that athletic ability. But then you catch them up when they're in high school, and they have sprouted up to 6 foot tall. They're now the tallest kid on the team. They're the fastest kid on the team. But if you're not giving Billy those minutes, he never developed those skills and that competitive, and he's going to end up quitting. Yeah. He's going to play a different sport probably. So at the younger ages, the player morale is very important for every coach to understand. I'm coaching a U8, U10, maybe U12. You're still looking at that developmental area. We got to remember, we're developing and they're teaching, we're getting the kids to learn to love the game. And I think that's the most important thing there. If they don't love the game, they're going to quit no matter what.
Correct.
But if they're on the field developing some skills, getting that opportunity to at least show what they can do, now we're growing some experiences where hopefully in the next couple of years, we're going to see that growth in their talent.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. I couldn't agree more.
All right, Chris, let's move on to our first topic here, where we're really going to dig into the fair play aspect of this conversation. You're talking about giving everybody equal playing time. We're focused on that development. And like we said before, we're really focusing that on the younger ages. And like you said, prior to going to 11v11 full field, you got 9v9, 77. You really should be focusing on their development.
Yeah.
Like we've already said, we're getting them to learn to love the game. They're learning the game, the rules of the game, the aspect of when you're down, when you're up, how to finish a game, your positions, communication. Everything that is involved in playing time is about development. And you're going to get a lot of that in their training sessions, but you really get to see it in real time on the playing field. So while we're learning the game, we're also building that confidence in them. So there's a big part of playing time at the younger ages.
Yeah, and you're going to hear in my voice and my arguments tonight that I'm very torn on this topic. It's a very tough discussion for me, because I'm kind of like you. Like, I want to develop all my players, but at the same time, I feel like it comes to a point to where I owe my players the opportunity to win the match. And so, like, that's the tug of war that I deal with daily as a coach, and I'm sure you do as well, right? I want to play Chris and I want to get him on the field, but in a tight match, if I put him on the field, we may lose. And that argument that we're kind of getting at, like when do you cross that line where okay, it's time to go win versus all right, you know what, we're not even discuss winning and losing, right? And it does go back to that younger age group. And when you're coaching those younger age groups, when you are parenting those younger age groups, those kids should be playing, and everything should be positive, and everything should be about touches on the ball. I spoke with a parent tonight whose daughter was going to come out for academy, and they were just like, "What is academy like? 2v2 or 3v3?" I'm like, honestly, that's what it should be. At those we should be enhancing those touches. I mean, I think we only play 5v5, which is fine, but we should be enhancing those touches at the younger ages, and you should be employing multiple teams instead of one team of 12 players and we're playing 5v5. Why would we not have, multiple teams of 5 players and play 4v4? Or, I think there's so many better ways, and this is just a U.S. soccer organizational standpoint side of it, but I think there's a way to focus on development at those younger ages that I think we're missing the bill on.
Yeah, we keep talking about the younger ages, and you made a great comment that the winning really starts to matter when you go full sided field, 11v11. And for me, I really think that really starts being introduced at U12. You start getting the concept of, hey, talent is going to get the most minutes. We're going to have my substitutes. There's going to be some of us who aren't going to get the same amount of playing time. And the coach needs to be strong enough to have the conversation during their training sessions, not before a game. It needs to be a planned effort to get these kids to understand. We're talking about kids that are in middle school. They have that cognitive ability to comprehend, all right, my talent level may not be the greatest, but I'm going to come to every practice. I'm going to give everything I've got.
Well, I'm going to jump in for just a second because I took a note on that a minute ago because I wanted to come back to it. You kind of came back to it now, so I want to hit that. You talked about player morale earlier. There is a way for a kid to not get a ton of minutes, but still feel valued and still feel like an important member of the team. And if I'm that player and my teammates have made me feel needed, my coach has made me feel like I play an important role, then I'm not so honed in on, oh, I only played 8 minutes this game, or oh, I only played 4 minutes that half, or whatever it is. It is, man, I did my job really well that match. Like I got in, and Chris is our star player, and he kind of came up gimpy early in the game, and I had to go in, and I gave 6 good minutes. I put 1 good cross into the box, and I won a ball out of the air, and then thankfully Chris wasn't hurt, and he was able to come back into the game. But if you build that type of culture within your team where the player morale is high, I think you really start to eliminate some of these, oh, I didn't play very much moments.
Yeah, and I love that culture aspect of that, where you're giving awareness to the long-term impact of that player that may not get the amount of playing time. If a kid feels excluded, they're probably going to quit that sport. If you've got Billy on the bench and game after game after game, he's not getting playing time, he feels excluded. You're basically saying, hey, Billy, I'm sorry, I don't want you here, so I'm just not going to play you because you're just not good enough. A coach isn't going to say that, but him not playing that kid game after game after game and maybe getting 5 minutes here and there, you're telling that kid, please don't come back.
I'm going to jump in on this conversation for just a second because it is something that I had never really thought about because of how I view subs. But I had a parent bring it up to me. Not one of my parents, but a parent who felt comfortable enough to say, "Hey, coach, can I bring up a question?" And they were disappointed in. They were upset about playing time, ultimately, but they were upset about when their child was getting the majority of their playing time. So it was my kids coming on the field the last 6 minutes of the first half, where we're just trying to get to halftime, and it was very. And again, I wasn't there. I don't know the situation. I don't know the coach or the team or what the game was like. But it sounded like it was very apparent to everybody what was happening. Oh, the half's getting ready to be over. So I'm going to get this kid some playing time. And I think that goes back into the conversation we were just having. Like, yeah, I'm giving you minutes, but are they minutes that matter? That you feel like, oh, I'm a member of this team and I am given opportunities to help us be better? Or is it those, it's almost halftime because coach.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to discuss playing to win. And we strongly believe winning matters. When kids win, they come back to play.
Yeah.
We've all seen it.
Yes.
We've been on a team where we won one game, maybe didn't win any games. And sure enough, I'm losing 2 players because they went off to another club.
Yep.
But if I'm winning every game, or we're finishing second place in the division, and so when we're talking about our substitutions here and going for the win, it matters because it just, not just the player morale, the parental morale changes there as well, where they're building that confidence in the coach's ability to coach their kids, the team's ability to play, involving their chemistry as a unit. Go ahead.
Sorry, and because I think this is important before you dive into some specifics here, because, and I'm gonna just pose a question to you because I'm trying to think of the answer in my head, and for me, I would say the answer is drastically lower. But when you're at this age where we're playing to win, and you are 9-2, right? And you're leading your division. How many playing time conversations are you having with mamas and daddies? Not very many.
That's a great point,
right? Versus when you're 2-9,
you're still going to have them.
Oh no, absolutely.
But I think the approach from the parent,
yes,
drastically changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's an important take on this as well. To where, that winning, we talk about player morale, but team morale, parent morale, coach morale, player morale, school morale, club morale, whatever it is, when you are producing win after win after win every single weekend or weeknight, it is important.
The other part of the playing to win scenario is, while you are playing to win, you still need to pay attention to the flow of the game. You and I have been in school. Duh. We've coached high school.
You need to go back.
And there are times where I've looked at you when you were my assistant and I said, can you feel it? And you could feel the momentum change in a game. And a lot of the kids didn't comprehend what you and I were talking about, but it's that feeling of the flow of the game. And there are times where the momentum has been all on you, and you're like, now you got to start thinking, all right, is it a 2-1 game?
Yeah.
Or is it now a 4-1 game? And now maybe I can give some other kids some playing time. But if it's 2-1, 2-2, and momentum's going back and forth, I've got to keep my biggest talent on the field to get that win. And that absolutely matters. And sometimes when you get into the middle school and high school ages, even the players on the bench, if the coaches have those conversations, they understand we've got to get this win. We're so right there. We're just missing that last piece to get that win. And so the flow of the game definitely matters, where, hey, do I need to bring on my speedy wing? Do I need to bring on my striker that's great out of the air? Or am I bringing on an extra defender to park the bus? There's so many different scenarios that the coach needs to pay attention to what's going on. It's not just about the talent that's on the bench. It's what they're bringing to the field when they step on.
Well, and it's so funny we're bringing this up for two reasons. Number one, you and I had this conversation at dinner tonight when I'm moving on to President's Cup semifinals this weekend, and I kind of posed to you, hey, we can play with this team. Should I park the bus early and try to get to PK? Should I try to find a quick goal? Then and so you and I had that conversation at dinner just about my tactical plans this weekend. But this brings me back to 2 points. When we talk about playing time, one of the things that I list in my playing time considerations is the game situation. Am I being forced to defend constantly? Because if I am, that's going to spell bad news for my strikers. Because I'm probably pulling a striker and putting on a defensive mid or another outside back or whatever it is, right? Am I constantly attacking? We're just missing that finishing piece. Well, then that probably spells news for a defensive mid or a backline player, because now I'm going to look at my backup attacking mid. I'm like, hey, we're going to 2 attacking. Let's go. Get in there. Let's play. So those substitutions really matter too. And the understanding of the game is so important in those aspects, not only from a coach's standpoint, but from a player standpoint and from a parent standpoint. You have to realize what's happening in the game. Well, my son is a lockdown defender. Why are they not in the game? Well, because they hadn't got past midfield the whole match. I didn't need to defend. I needed to just score. So those things matter. The other thing, and this is something that I bring up, I'm sure I've brought up on this podcast, and I bring up every parent meeting, every player meeting. When you watch a professional game, when do the subs happen? They happen in the last 10 minutes. And they're all tactical subs. Right? I need fresh legs on the outside. I need to put in an Alex Morgan to find a game-winning goal. Oh my gosh, they are killing me pressure-wise right now. I need to bring in Hogland as an extra defender. Whatever it is, all those things go into play, and the more that of course, coaches need to be vocal about what they're doing and need to communicate that as well. But the more parents and players understand game situations, I think really help to understand the flow of the match and the flow of those substitutions.
Absolutely, Coach. Let's move into our last topic here, and that's really kind of bringing it all together and striking a balance between the playing time and going for the win. And that's a tough seesaw for every coach to manage, because you've got to keep players happy, you got to keep parents happy while still winning games. And I think the best coaches are having those conversations in training sessions. They're developing and explaining a substitution plan of, hey, when we're up 3-1, we don't need to score. So we're probably going to change a formation and add in a holding mid. I'm going to add in another defender.
Yeah.
We're down a goal. Well, now I might be pulling a defender, and I'm going to put in an extra wing. Charlie's amazing out of the air. And if we can get crosses all day long, I'm going to be putting him at striker in games in that situation. So a great coach explains his substitution plan and gets the kids to understand, I guess, an awareness of what's going on in the game. It's not just, I need minutes, so just give it to me.
Right. It's
got to be, hey, when I pull you off the field and I ask you what's their formation, you should be able to give me some kind of explanation of, Coach, I don't know if they're on a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, but I know their 2 holding mids are stopping everything. All right? Give me something that tells me you're understanding what's going on in the game. And if I understand what you're telling me, that might give you more minutes down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said before, it's so frustrating when I look at, hey, Chris, go in for Charlie. What's he playing?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay, you're not ready to go into this game, so never mind. Or not even that, just figure it out and then tell me when you understand what's happening and I can put you in the game. But something that we talked about off camera, and then we didn't bring it up. And I want to bring it up because I think it's important. We've talked a lot about morale in this episode that I think maybe you and I didn't plan on talking about, but it is important. There are some matches that you just have to go and win, right?
Tournaments,
I think, or even when you're in the middle of a slide, right? I mean, I think back to my last year at Central. We had lost a couple matches in a row. We go on the road to play Berea, who we beat 100-0 all the time. And there's 10 minutes left in this game, and it's tied, right? And it's 1-1. And have we dominated the whole match? Yeah, we have, right? And, they scored on a PK, and things happen, and I get that. But those are one of those moments where, in my brain, I'm thinking, I cannot lose to Berea, right?
It's true. It's 100% true.
We lost in PKs to Southern, then we went on the road and lost to Lafayette or somebody who you kind of expect to lose to, right? And then you drop one to North Laurel, who is a solid team. So now all of a sudden you've lost 3 matches in a row. Here you are with Berea. Should be a bounce back game. This game should already be over, and it's not. And so now as a coach, I'm just like, you look at those girls on the bench who were expecting to play a lot that game, and you're just like, I can't play you right now. I have to go with my talent, my better players, and I have to get this win. And I think as hard as that conversation is, both players and parents and assistant coaches and ADs and everybody has to understand that sometimes you just have to go and get the win.
Well, that goes down to your team culture. We've already talked about this. The coach having a discussion, communicating with its players about their substitution plan and things to be aware of. If everybody has a sense of shared goals of the season and everyone's being included, the best players are still cheering on the less talented kids, no matter what the situation is. When we have that situation going on, you notice we keep talking about communication, shared goals. We've gone away from talking about playing time and the winning. It's about everyone being on the same page.
Yeah.
Where the coach doesn't have to talk about we're going for the win. He doesn't have to talk about, hey, sorry, your playing time isn't going to work out this week. But if he has those one-on-one conversations, he's having the team discussions about, this upcoming game, this could be a tough one, or this upcoming game, we're probably going to be up 5-0. Here's what we're going to be looking at doing. If the players go into the match after match, understanding their role on the team, and they're being supported by the other players on the team, that's what this is really about.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, Coach, we've gone over a lot of discussions here. As we said before, every single coach in every sport has dealt with this in dealing with youth sports, balancing the act of giving people playing time and going for the win. We strongly believe the younger ages is all about development. They're learning the game. They're learning to love the game. When you get to maybe the U12, U14 and up, winning matters. I don't care who you are. If you tell me winning isn't everything, you and I aren't going to get along. Winning absolutely matters. And not just in sports. Winning matters in life. Going after the promotion, getting the job, winning that contract, whatever it may be, winning absolutely matters.
Yeah, and I mean, you also probably aren't talking to your player either, right? Because, everybody wants to win. I shouldn't say everybody. Most people want to win, right? And that's what matters to them. Hey, I only played 8 minutes today, but we won 2-0. And so that's what matters.
Yeah. All right, Coach, we've had a great conversation here about tactical substitutions. Are you focusing on the playing time? Are you focusing on the win? We would love to hear your feedback because we believe this is a conversation that really isn't discussed a lot, but every single coach has dealt with this. Please give us a shout out on Facebook, Ace Football Academy. Give us a kick on X. Any way you can reach out to us. We are the Ace Football Academy. I'm Coach Dunham. That's Coach Hamilton. Go kick some ace.